Hello, guys, and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. Amodiy here. We discuss fashion, lifestyle, and sewing tutorials. For now, we'll focus majorly on sewing tutorials. So, today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to draft a basic bodice with shoulder dart. As you can see, I'm using the pattern from our last tutorial where I drafted the simplest bodice block with only a waist dart. Now, in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to input a shoulder dart into this bodice block for the front block. So before we dive into today's tutorial, if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe, as you will definitely be getting useful sewing tips on here, the simplest of tutorials on here, and kindly like, share, and comment if these tutorials are useful to you. Thank you. So now we'll dive right into it. From our previous tutorials, if you've not seen it, kindly go and check it so you have a basic understanding of what we'll be doing here today. Now, a shoulder dart is a dart you find on your shoulder area of your basic bodies. It is done to give more shape to the bust area or to create a seam line on your shoulder line for different designs, for a shoulder dart seam, a shoulder dart, the same way you have a seam that runs across your armhole and is used to create what is called an armhole dart or a princess seam or a princess dart. As you can see, I will just be inputting the shoulder dart in an already existing pattern. So the first step after drafting your shoulder is to get the midpoint between your neck width. The neck width is the distance from the center fold to the neck wideness, how wide you want your neck to be. This is the neck depth from the tip of the paper to the depth of your neckline. So we'll be getting the distance between here and our armhole line, our shoulder line. You know, our shoulder divided by 2 was 7. This was what we got here, right? Okay, see, from center point now up until here, 7 inches, right? 7 inches. So now we'll be getting the difference between the midpoint between here and here. So the distance between our neck width and our shoulder line is 4 inches. So the midpoint is 2 inches here. I'll mark these 2 inches here. So now there are two different ways to do a shoulder dart. I'll be showing you the two of them in today's tutorial. So from this midpoint now, the first method now is from this midpoint here, you would connect it to this our dart here. You know, this is the beginning of our dart for our waist dart. If you watch the previous tutorial, here is the beginning of our waist dart. It doesn't get to the bust point because we don't want too much pull on the bust area. So with your straight ruler now, you connect from this midpoint to this tip of the dart. So I've done that with my pencil. I hope you can see it from here. Remember, this is the first step. That's why I'm using a pencil so I can erase it and show you the second step. So now our shoulder dart is usually around 2 inches or 1/3 depending on size, but mostly 2 inches. We'll be using 2 inches. The same way we have a basic standard for our waist dart of 1 inch, we have for the shoulder dart, which is 2 inches. So now the first method is from here. So from this midpoint, we'll be taking our 2 inches here. This is our 2 inches here. This here is the dart. The distance from here to here is what we'll remove as our shoulder dart. So from these 2 inches here, you connect it also to the beginning of our waist dart with a straight ruler. I've done that already, as you can see. So from here now is our shoulder dart for the front block. So remember, when we took our waist dart, we added back our 1 inch on the side, right? We'll be doing the same thing. Remember, here we took 2 inches. So you come out here. This is our shoulder line. On this shoulder line here, you come out these 2 inches that we took and you mark. This is our 2 inches, right? You come to the chest line. That's this armhole line. You mark how many inches is here, how many inches that took. This is half of an inch, right? As you can see, half of an inch. You come here, this is our allowance. We'll start from here, ignore this allowance for now. We'll come here, we'll add the half inch here. We'll come here where we took in our half inch here to get our armhole curve. You come here, you measure what you have here. You have 1¼ So from this point now, you know this way we're cutting our armhole from. You measure that 1¼ and you put it here. So you connect now with your armhole curve from here to here and here. So now the reason why you are doing it from here is to maintain this armhole curve, right? To maintain this armhole curve. And then from this tip now, we connect it to our shoulder line, our old shoulder line with a straight ruler. So now this becomes our new shoulder line. So you cut out this point together as your shoulder dart. Now this is the first method. We'll label the first part number 1, this midpoint as 1, and the end of the shoulder dart as number 2. So you're cutting 1 and 2, and when you cut out this center, you'll be joining it back. So when you're cutting on your paper, on your fabric, you add half an inch allowance. So remember I said our shoulder dart is a basic standard of 2 inches. So now the second method, from this midpoint here, rather than take 2 inches on one side, you take 1 inch on the right side and 1 inch on the left side of the midpoint. So from this midpoint here, you take 1 inch here and you take 1 inch here. That is a total of 2 inches. You can see a total of. So you connect with a straight ruler from this point here to this point here and this point here to this point here for as your shoulder dart. So now I've ruled it with a straight ruler from here to here, from here to here. So your dart is from, we'll label here as 0.1, we'll label here as 0.2, and this is the midline. So your dart is from here to here. This entire place is what you're cutting out as your dart. You cut this straight line here, following this line here all the way down, and then you cut along from here, then you cut here. Like I said, the essence of shoulder dart is to give more shape to the bust area. As you can see there's a shape here. You can see, to give it more shape, you can use your curve ruler and connect from this straight line here to this marker point here, as you can see. And with that, like we did in the first method, from the original shoulder point here, you would add your 2 inches dart that you've taken out of your fabric or from your paper, and you add it here. You add it back to your pattern like we have done, basically the same way we did it for the first step, and you get your new armhole curve. You will not be cutting this place anymore because of your shoulder dart. You'll be cutting through this new line, this pencil line here. And then for your allowance, you will be marking half an inch round here, and then you start from here. Now you would connect it to your waist measurement, right? You connect it like so. And then for your allowance, now you start to mark 1 inch on the side from this new pencil mark here, from this new mark. Your armhole curve, half an inch, and then for your shoulder, half of an inch. So like I said, you connect from the midpoint of your shoulder to the top of your waist dart for the back block. Now using the second method like we did for the front, and then you cut through from here following this line, your dart line, cut from here, and you have your dart. This is done in such a way that when you join your back and front shoulder line, you can see that the line, the midpoint is going to meet here at the midpoint of the front dart is going to meet at the midpoint of the back dart. Can you see that? Okay, so now we'll use the second method we did for the front and use it to create a shoulder dart at the back. Remember, for the second method of the shoulder dart, our line is going to be starting from here. The line will cut through, our pattern is going to be starting from here, right? So you will measure to create your back shoulder line. You will measure from the fold of your front pattern to where our first shoulder line, our first shoulder dart leg is going to be, and we can see it is 4 inches from the center front. So we'll go to the back pattern now and measure from our center back. We measure 4 inches right from our center back. As you can see, this is 4 inches from our center back here, and then you rule from here now to the tip of this waist dart on the back pattern. When you do that, I advise you use a cup to just smoothing it to your waist dart, right? Use a cup so you don't have any sharp edges. So from your shoulder dart, now you smooth it into your waist dart, okay, like so. So now, like we did for the front, you can decide to make here your dart for the back and replace it on the shoulder, on the armhole side. So you measure here, this is 1 inch, and you replace it here 1 inch to your armhole curve. Or like I said, shoulder that is not necessary on the back pattern most times. Or you can just decide to erase this line and only cut this single line. So what you have is a shoulder seam on your back pattern. So remember, we've done two different methods of the shoulder darts for the front block and for the back block. Kindly comment which method you find easy to use and you understand, and which method you'll be using on your next sewing project. Also, if you've not subscribed at this point, kindly do so. Like, share, comment. Thank you. See you in our next tutorial. Bye bye.